The senior nun lived a quiet life in a small convent tucked away in a peaceful countryside. She was known for her gentle smile and kind heart, always ready to help anyone who needed her guidance or a comforting word. Despite her years, she moved with a calm energy that seemed to touch everyone around her. The convent was a place of routine, with mornings filled with prayers, afternoons dedicated to chores, and evenings spent in reflection. Yet, there was something inside her that made her heart beat a little faster, something she had loved since she was a young girl. Music, and more specifically, the piano. She remembered the first time she had touched the piano keys. It was in a small room in her childhood home. The instrument was old, with a few chipped keys, but to her, it was a doorway to another world. As her fingers danced over the keys, she felt as if she was speaking without words, telling stories that only music could carry. Over the years, the piano had become her companion, a source of comfort during times of loneliness, and a way to express feelings she could not put into words. Even after entering the convent, she never let go of her love for music. In the quiet corners of the building, she found an old upright piano tucked away behind a curtain. It was worn and slightly out of tune, but to her it was perfect. The first time she sat down and played again, it felt as if no time had passed at all. The notes flowed naturally from her fingers, filling the room with warmth and life. Her sisters in the convent often walked by and paused to listen, smiling at the gentle sounds drifting through the halls. Despite her talent, she had always kept her music private. The convent had rules about noise and distractions, and while her playing was welcomed in private, public performances were not encouraged. She accepted this with grace, content to play quietly when no one was around or during moments when it was allowed. Yet, deep down, she longed to share her gift more openly, to let others experience the joy she felt when the music flowed from her soul. One day, the senior nun decided she would ask for permission to play in the main hall of the convent, where everyone could hear. It was a bold step, something she had never attempted before. She approached the head of the convent, a kind but cautious woman, and explained her desire. She spoke softly, with sincerity and respect, hoping that her request would be considered. To her disappointment, the response was not what she had hoped for. The head of the convent explained that the main hall was reserved for communal activities, and that playing the piano there could distract others from their duties. It was not a rejection of her talent, but a practical decision based on the rules they had all agreed to follow. The senior nun felt a sting of sadness, but she understood the reasoning. Still, she could not let go of the idea completely. She decided to find ways to continue her music within the boundaries allowed, playing in smaller rooms, during quiet moments, and whenever she could steal a few minutes to practice. Life went on, and the senior nun continued with her daily routine. She woke early each morning, joined the other sisters in prayers, tended to the gardens, and helped prepare meals. Yet, each day she carved out moments to play the piano. She would sit by the window, letting the sunlight fall on the keys, and her music would drift softly into the air. It became a private ritual, a time when she could be completely herself, lost in the melodies that had been with her all her life. Over time, her playing began to attract attention. Other sisters, who initially walked by quietly, started pausing to listen more often. They admired the depth of emotion in her music, the way each note seemed to tell a story. Some would even join her quietly, humming along or tapping their fingers in rhythm. Slowly, the piano became more than just an instrument for the senior nun. It became a bridge between her and the community around her. Despite these small successes, the senior nun never stopped dreaming of sharing her music beyond the walls of the convent. She imagined children hearing her play, strangers pausing in awe, and people feeling the same joy she felt every time she pressed the keys. The thought of reaching others with her music gave her a sense of purpose, a reason to keep playing even when the rules seemed restrictive. Her days were filled with small victories. She discovered new pieces to play, experimented with different styles, and even began composing her own melodies. Each note she played was infused with her life experiences, her joys, sorrows, and hopes. She realized that music was not just a hobby or a pastime. It was a language through which she could connect with the world, even without speaking. The senior nun's dedication did not go unnoticed. The other sisters began to see her in a new light, not just as a kind and gentle member of the convent, but as someone with extraordinary talent and passion. They respected her discipline, the way she balanced her daily duties with her love for music. Some even sought her advice on how to find time for their own passions, inspired by her example. Despite the challenges, she never lost her spirit. She understood that obstacles were a part of life, and she met each one with patience and grace. When she was told she could not play in the main hall, she did not argue or complain. Instead, she found new ways to continue her practice, discovering creativity in constraint. She learned that true passion could not be silenced by rules or age. It only needed a chance to shine in the right moment. As the days turned into weeks, and weeks into months, the senior nun became more confident in her abilities. She knew that her time to share her music more widely would come, and she prepared herself for that moment with quiet determination. Her love for the piano grew stronger with each passing day, and with it, her hope that one day, her music would touch more hearts than she had ever imagined. In the stillness of the convent, surrounded by stone walls and the soft murmur of prayers, she sat at the piano and played as if the world outside did not exist. Each note was a message, a reflection of her life, her faith, and her unwavering dedication to something she loved deeply. She played for herself, for the sisters who quietly listened, and for the day when her music would finally reach beyond the convent doors. In that music, she found freedom, joy, and the quiet assurance that her passion would never fade, no matter the obstacles. The senior nun's life continued in its quiet rhythm, but she felt a growing tension inside her. While her love for the piano remained strong, she began to notice the challenges around her more clearly. The convent was a place of strict routines, and though most sisters were kind, some did not understand why she devoted so much time to music. They saw it as a distraction from her daily duties, something that could take her away from her spiritual and communal responsibilities. This made her cautious, but it did not stop her from practicing. Every note she played became a small act of defiance against the limitations she felt, a reminder that passion could not be silenced. She found herself in a delicate balance. Each day, she would rise before dawn, join the others in prayers, and complete her chores with precision. But she would also carve out moments for her music, sneaking time at the piano whenever she could. Sometimes it was during brief pauses between tasks, other times in the evenings when the convent had grown quiet. In these moments, she felt a sense of freedom, a chance to breathe life into the melodies she had carried for decades. Not all days were easy. There were times when her efforts were met with criticism or gentle warnings. Some sisters reminded her that her focus should remain on the duties of the convent, that music was secondary. The senior nun listened respectfully, never raising her voice or arguing. But inside, a small flame of frustration grew. She understood their concerns, but she also knew that her music was not frivolous. It was an essential part of who she was, a connection to her past and a source of comfort in the present. Despite the obstacles, she found ways to keep her music alive. She experimented with new techniques, learning to make the old piano sing even more beautifully. She discovered hidden strengths in her fingers and developed new ways to express emotion through sound. Her dedication became an inspiration for herself, proving that persistence and patience could overcome even the strictest of limitations. Sometimes, she would catch herself imagining what it would be like to play for others beyond the convent walls. She pictured children stopping to listen, strangers pausing in awe, and even distant friends hearing the notes and feeling the same emotions she did while playing. These daydreams gave her hope and fueled her determination. She knew that one day, an opportunity would come, and she wanted to be ready. Life in the convent also taught her patience. She saw younger sisters struggling with their own challenges, learning the value of perseverance and resilience. In many ways, her own struggle with music mirrored their struggles in other areas. She became a quiet mentor, showing through her actions that it was possible to remain devoted to one's passions while fulfilling responsibilities. Her music became not just a personal joy, but a subtle lesson in dedication and balance. There were moments of quiet triumph that kept her spirits high. Occasionally, a sister would linger nearby, drawn by the beauty of the music. She would listen with rapt attention, sometimes even asking her to teach them simple pieces or techniques. These interactions, small as they were, reinforced the idea that her music had value, that it could touch lives in ways words could not. It reminded her that the world outside the convent might one day hear her playing, if the right moment arrived. At times, the senior nun also faced her own doubts. Her age made her wonder if she still had the strength and agility to play as she once had. The piano demanded focus and precision, and she noticed her hands sometimes moved slower, her fingers occasionally hesitated on the keys. But she refused to give in to discouragement. She adapted her approach, finding new ways to overcome the limitations of age. Each practice session became an exercise in patience, creativity, and self-acceptance. Her relationship with the other sisters evolved as well. Some began to understand her dedication, seeing how much joy it brought her. They noticed that her music created a calm, soothing atmosphere within the convent, lifting spirits and fostering a sense of peace. Slowly, the resistance that had existed in small pockets began to soften. Her quiet perseverance had started to break down the barriers of misunderstanding, showing that music was not a distraction, but a gift to the entire community. During this period, the senior nun also began to explore the emotional depth of her playing. She realized that each piece she performed could tell a story, not just of notes and rhythm, but of life experiences, struggles, and triumphs. She poured her memories into the music. The innocence of childhood, the trials of young adulthood, the solace she had found in faith, and the simple pleasures of quiet moments. Every melody became a reflection of her soul, a narrative without words that spoke directly to anyone who would listen. She also became more mindful of her environment. The convent was full of routines, and she learned to work within those constraints to maximize her opportunities. She planned her practice sessions around quiet times, making sure not to disturb anyone, and even adjusted the intensity of her playing to match the mood of the day. In doing so, she discovered a new level of discipline, one that allowed her passion to thrive without causing conflict. This balance gave her a deeper sense of satisfaction than she had ever known. Over time, her persistence began to have subtle effects on the convent. The atmosphere grew warmer, more welcoming, as the sisters began to appreciate the quiet beauty of her music. Tasks that had once seemed mundane were now accompanied by the gentle sounds of the piano drifting through the halls. Even the head of the convent, who had initially discouraged public performances, began to notice the positive impact. She saw how the music lifted spirits, created harmony among the sisters, and added a dimension of joy to everyday life. The senior nun's hope grew stronger with each passing day. She knew that the right opportunity to share her music more openly would eventually arrive. She began to prepare herself mentally and emotionally, practicing pieces with extra care and refining her technique. She imagined the moment when she could play in front of an audience, feeling a mixture of excitement and nervous anticipation. It was a dream that sustained her, a light guiding her through the routine and the challenges of daily life. Despite the constraints, she found ways to make her music meaningful. She wrote simple compositions, small pieces that reflected her feelings and experiences. She experimented with variations of classical pieces, adding her own touch, her own interpretation. These creations became personal treasures, symbols of her resilience and dedication. They reminded her that creativity could flourish even in limited circumstances, and that passion, when nurtured, could overcome obstacles. Throughout all of this, the senior nun maintained a sense of humility. She never sought praise or recognition, finding fulfillment in the act of playing itself. Yet, she could not deny the quiet pride she felt when others acknowledged her talent, even in small ways. The smiles, the quiet nods of approval, the moments when someone stopped to listen. These were affirmations that her efforts were not in vain. The challenges she faced also taught her valuable lessons about patience, empathy, and resilience. She learned to navigate the delicate balance between following rules and honoring her own needs. She realized that perseverance was not just about pushing through obstacles, but about understanding and adapting to them. In doing so, she grew not only as a musician but as a person, deepening her understanding of herself and the world around her. As months passed, the senior nun's dedication to her music became an integral part of her identity. It was no longer just a private hobby. It had become a vital expression of her spirit, a way to connect with others and bring joy into their lives. She carried the melodies with her wherever she went, humming quietly as she moved about the convent, letting the music infuse every moment with meaning. Her story of quiet determination and love for music was becoming a part of the convent's life, though few realized how extraordinary it was. She had faced resistance, doubt, and the limitations of age, yet she had continued to nurture her passion with unwavering devotion. Each day brought new challenges, but also new opportunities to grow and create. And through it all, she held on to the belief that her time to share her music more widely would come, that one day, the world beyond the convent would hear the sounds that had filled her heart for so many years. Even in the face of uncertainty, the senior nun remained hopeful. She knew that perseverance and faith were powerful allies, and she trusted that her patience and dedication would eventually be rewarded. Her music, she believed, had the power to touch hearts and inspire others, and she was determined to see that moment arrive. Until then, she played on, quietly, humbly, and with a passion that refused to fade, proving that true love for one's craft can thrive even in the most challenging circumstances. Months passed in the convent, each day filled with routines, small triumphs, and quiet moments of music. The senior nun's dedication had become a quiet force within the convent walls. She continued to practice diligently, her fingers moving gracefully over the worn keys, bringing life to melodies that seemed to carry a lifetime of experience. Each note resonated with the depth of her emotions, reflecting both her struggles and her joy. While she played mostly in private, the music began to ripple outward, touching the hearts of those who happened to hear it. Then came a moment of opportunity that would change everything. The convent was planning a small gathering to honor a visiting local community leader. It was an unusual event for the sisters, an occasion where they would open their doors and welcome guests for the first time in years. The senior nun saw it as a chance, a possibility to finally share her music more openly. She felt a mixture of excitement and nervousness, knowing this was her chance to step beyond the quiet walls she had grown so accustomed to. She approached the head of the convent once again, requesting permission to play a short piece during the gathering. The head listened attentively, her face reflecting concern but also curiosity. After some discussion, she agreed, setting a brief window of time for the senior nun's performance. It was not a full endorsement, but it was enough to give her hope. She felt a surge of determination, realizing that years of practice and quiet perseverance were about to culminate in a moment that could finally be shared with others. Over the following days, the senior nun prepared meticulously. She selected a piece that she felt captured the essence of her journey, a composition that blended classical technique with heartfelt expression. She spent hours at the piano, refining every note, ensuring that her performance would be both flawless and deeply moving. Each practice session was intense and focused, her mind entirely immersed in the music. She felt a growing connection to the piece, as if it were speaking for her, telling the story she had carried in her heart for decades. The convent itself seemed to hold its breath as the day of the gathering approached. Sisters whispered quietly about the upcoming performance, expressing admiration and curiosity. Some were eager to hear her play, while others were unsure what to expect. The senior nun remained calm, her focus unwavering. She reminded herself that this was not about seeking praise, but about sharing a part of herself that had been hidden for too long. On the day of the event, the convent hall was arranged carefully, with chairs for guests and a small stage area for the performance. The senior nun arrived early, her hands resting lightly on the keys, feeling the familiar texture of the piano beneath her fingers. She closed her eyes for a moment, taking a deep breath, centering herself in the midst of anticipation. She could feel the eyes of the other sisters and guests upon her, and a gentle warmth spread through her chest. This was the moment she had been waiting for, a culmination of years of quiet dedication and love for music. When the time came, she began to play. The first notes were soft, delicate, almost hesitant. But as her confidence grew, the music swelled, filling the hall with a richness and beauty that was impossible to ignore. Each movement of her fingers was precise yet fluid, expressing emotions that words could never convey. The audience was silent, completely absorbed, as if the music had created a world of its own within the room. The senior nun's eyes remained closed, her mind entirely focused on the connection between her soul and the keys. As the piece progressed, the senior nun's emotions poured into every note. There were moments of gentle reflection, soft passages that felt like whispers, followed by crescendos that seemed to express decades of longing, perseverance, and quiet triumph. She played with a depth that could only come from experience, her hands translating a lifetime of feelings into sound. The room seemed to vibrate with the music, each listener captivated, caught between awe and admiration. When the final note lingered and faded into silence, the hall remained still for a moment. The senior nun opened her eyes, looking at the faces around her. The expressions of the sisters and guests were filled with amazement, surprise, and genuine emotion. Some had tears in their eyes, others were smiling broadly, unable to contain their admiration. The music had reached them in a way that words never could, and the senior nun felt a profound sense of fulfillment wash over her. The applause that followed was gentle but heartfelt, carried out of respect and appreciation for the beauty they had just witnessed. The senior nun rose slowly, bowing her head in gratitude, a quiet smile on her lips. She felt a mixture of relief and joy, knowing that her music had found a way to touch the hearts of others. In that moment, she realized that the obstacles she had faced, the rules, the doubts, the limitations of age, were insignificant compared to the power of sharing one's passion with the world. After the gathering, many guests approached her, expressing admiration and curiosity. They asked about her journey, how she had developed such skill, and what inspired her music. The senior nun spoke modestly, emphasizing the joy of practice, the love for the piano, and the patience required to nurture a talent over many years. She did not seek attention or accolades. She simply wanted to share the beauty she had cultivated with those willing to listen. The sisters in the convent were profoundly affected as well. They realized that the senior nun's dedication had not been a distraction but a gift, a quiet force that enriched their lives and the lives of those around them. Some began to explore their own hidden talents, inspired by her example. Others came to appreciate the value of nurturing passions, understanding that personal fulfillment could enhance the community rather than detract from it. In the days following the performance, the senior nun felt a renewed sense of purpose. She continued her routines, but now with a deeper confidence and an inner light that seemed to radiate from her every action. Her music was no longer a private joy. It had become a shared experience, a bridge between her inner world and the hearts of others. The feeling was intoxicating in its quiet power, a confirmation that dedication, patience, and love for one's craft could indeed create profound impact. Even as life returned to its regular rhythms, the memory of that performance lingered. The senior nun found herself reflecting on the journey that had brought her to that moment, the years of quiet practice, the challenges she had faced, and the hope that had sustained her. She realized that the true beauty of music lay not only in the notes but in the courage to share it, the willingness to be vulnerable, and the belief that passion could transcend limitations. Her music began to gain subtle recognition beyond the convent. Local visitors shared stories of the performance, and whispers of her talent spread through the community. Yet, the senior nun remained humble, focused on the act of creating music rather than the attention it might bring. She understood that her gift was not hers alone. It belonged to anyone willing to listen and feel its power. The senior nun also began mentoring younger sisters, guiding them in exploring their own interests and talents. She encouraged them to pursue their passions with patience and perseverance, using her own journey as an example. She shared lessons about balance, discipline, and the importance of nurturing joy, demonstrating that personal fulfillment could coexist harmoniously with communal life. As the convent continued its daily life, the senior nun's music became a comforting presence. The piano was no longer just an instrument. It was a symbol of dedication, hope, and the quiet courage to follow one's heart. The melodies she played carried stories, emotions, and inspiration, reaching ears and hearts that were open to its gentle magic. Through this experience, the senior nun discovered the profound impact of sharing one's talents with the world. She realized that the obstacles she had faced were not barriers but opportunities to grow stronger, more patient, and more creative. Each challenge had shaped her. Each moment of doubt had fueled her determination, and each note she played had become a testament to the enduring power of passion. The opportunity to play in the hall had opened a door, and she knew that more opportunities would follow. She remained vigilant and prepared, practicing diligently, exploring new pieces, and refining her skills. She was no longer merely playing for herself. She was preparing to touch even more lives with her music, confident in the knowledge that her dedication and love for the piano would resonate far beyond the walls of the convent. The day of the senior nun's performance arrived with a sense of quiet anticipation. The convent hall was arranged with care, chairs neatly aligned, and small bouquets of flowers placed to welcome the guests. There was an air of excitement that seemed to hum softly in the corners, an invisible tension that heightened the importance of the moment. The senior nun approached the piano with a mixture of calm and nervous energy. She had rehearsed countless hours, but now it was time to bring everything together in front of an audience. As she settled onto the piano bench, she took a deep breath, feeling the worn keys beneath her fingers. They were familiar, comforting in their imperfections, each key carrying the memory of years of practice and love. She closed her eyes for a moment, allowing herself to center her thoughts, letting go of fear and embracing the music that had always been her companion. This was the moment she had imagined countless times, and now it was real. She began to play, starting softly, letting the gentle notes float into the hall. At first, there was silence from the audience, a respectful pause as everyone adjusted to the presence of the music. The senior nun's fingers moved gracefully, the melody flowing naturally, delicate yet confident. Each note carried the depth of her experiences, her joys and sorrows intertwined in the harmony she created. The music was more than sound. It was a language of emotion, a story told without words. As the piece continued, the audience became fully absorbed. Guests leaned forward in their seats, eyes focused, hearts touched by the beauty of the performance. The music built gradually, gaining strength and intensity, filling every corner of the hall. The senior nun's skill was evident, but it was her expression that captivated the listeners. Each phrase spoke of a life lived with dedication, patience, and love. Her music conveyed emotions that transcended age, experience, and circumstance, reaching directly to the hearts of those listening. The senior nun's hands moved with precision and fluidity, her fingers dancing across the keys with a grace that seemed effortless. She had practiced for decades, yet every performance brought something new, something personal that reflected the present moment. She felt completely connected to the piano, the music flowing through her rather than from her, a channel between her spirit and the audience. It was a powerful sensation, a rare moment where time seemed to stand still, and the room was suspended in shared emotion. There were moments of gentle reflection in the music, soft passages that felt like whispers of memory and longing. Then, like a wave cresting, the melodies rose, powerful and vibrant, expressing a strength that had been cultivated over a lifetime. The audience was moved in ways they had not anticipated. Some closed their eyes, letting the music carry them, while others sat silently, captivated by the raw emotion and technical mastery of the performance. Every note seemed to tell a story, every pause a moment of contemplation. The senior nun was aware of the impact her playing had on those around her. She felt the connection between herself and the audience deepen with each passing moment. Music was no longer just a private expression. It had become a shared experience. She was telling a story of perseverance, faith, and the power of following one's passion. And the audience was listening, feeling, and understanding without the need for words. In that moment, the boundaries between performer and listener disappeared, replaced by a sense of unity through the universal language of music. As the piece approached its conclusion, the music swelled to a crescendo, every key struck with intention and emotion. The senior nun's body moved with the rhythm, her expression reflecting the intensity and passion she had poured into every practice session. The hall seemed to vibrate with the sound, and for a brief moment, it felt as though the world outside had disappeared, leaving only the music and the hearts it touched. When the final notes faded into silence, there was a pause, a collective breath held by everyone present, as if the audience were reluctant to break the magic. Then, slowly, applause began. It was soft at first, tentative, then grew stronger, heartfelt and genuine. Guests rose to their feet, clapping, some wiping tears from their eyes, others smiling broadly. The senior nun stood slowly, her heart full, her eyes shining with a mixture of relief, joy, and pride. She bowed her head in gratitude, acknowledging the audience, feeling the warmth of their appreciation. In that moment, she understood the profound impact of sharing her music, the way it could touch lives and create connections beyond words. People approached her after the performance, expressing admiration and curiosity. They asked about her journey, how she had developed her skills, and what inspired her to continue despite challenges. The senior nun spoke humbly, emphasizing the joy of practice, the love for music, and the patience required to cultivate a talent over many years. She shared her belief that music was a gift meant to be shared, a bridge between hearts, and a source of inspiration and comfort. Her words were simple, yet they carried the wisdom of experience, touching those who listened as much as her music had. The sisters in the convent were profoundly affected. They had witnessed a transformation, seeing one of their own step forward and share a hidden talent that had been nurtured quietly for decades. Many realized the importance of encouraging personal passions, understanding that dedication and joy could coexist with communal responsibilities. Some began exploring their own hidden talents, inspired by the senior nun's example, finding courage in the knowledge that perseverance and patience could lead to extraordinary outcomes. The senior nun felt a renewed sense of purpose after the performance. Her music was no longer just a personal joy. It had become a way to connect with others, to inspire and uplift. She returned to her daily routines with a quiet confidence, carrying with her the knowledge that her passion had the power to reach hearts beyond the convent. Each practice session now held a deeper meaning, each note a reminder that sharing one's gift could create profound beauty and joy. In the days that followed, the story of her performance began to spread beyond the convent walls. Visitors spoke of the extraordinary talent and emotional depth they had witnessed, sharing the experience with friends and family. While the senior nun remained humble, she recognized that her music had the ability to touch many lives, to create moments of reflection, joy, and inspiration. She continued to play, not for recognition or fame, but for the simple, powerful purpose of sharing the beauty that had filled her heart for so many years. The impact of the performance was not limited to the immediate audience. It created a ripple effect, inspiring others to pursue their passions, to persevere despite obstacles, and to find courage in the face of doubt. The senior nun's journey demonstrated that age, rules, or challenges need not prevent someone from following their dreams. Her example showed that dedication, patience, and love for one's craft could overcome even the most difficult barriers, leaving a lasting impression on everyone fortunate enough to witness it. Through it all, the senior nun remained humble and centered. She continued her daily life, balancing her responsibilities with her love for music. She practiced diligently, prepared for future opportunities, and nurtured the spark of inspiration she had ignited in others. Her performance had not only shared her gift but also strengthened her belief in the power of perseverance, passion, and the quiet courage to follow one's heart. The experience reinforced the senior nun's understanding of the universal language of music. She realized that its power lay not just in technical skill, but in the ability to convey emotion, connect with others, and inspire hope. Her performance had shown that music could transcend age, circumstance, and even words, reaching deep into the hearts of those willing to listen. It was a lesson she would carry forward, both in her playing and in her guidance of others within the convent and beyond. As the senior nun sat at the piano in the following days, she played with a renewed sense of purpose and joy. Each note was a reminder of the moment when her music touched the hearts of many, a symbol of the beauty that could emerge from dedication, patience, and love. She continued to refine her skills, explore new pieces, and compose her own melodies, always mindful of the profound impact that music could have when shared with others. Her story of courage, persistence, and passion became a quiet inspiration within the convent and the surrounding community. The performance had not only revealed her talent but had also illuminated the power of determination and the importance of nurturing one's passions. The senior nun had demonstrated that even in the face of rules, doubts, and limitations, it was possible to follow one's heart and create something truly remarkable. Through her music, she had touched lives, leaving an enduring legacy that would continue to inspire for years to come. After the remarkable performance, life at the convent slowly returned to its familiar rhythm, but the senior nun felt a profound change within herself. She continued her daily routine of prayers, chores, and reflection, yet there was a new energy surrounding her. The experience of sharing her music had opened a door she never thought would fully exist, and it left her with a sense of fulfillment and purpose that touched every part of her being. The convent itself seemed transformed. The other sisters, inspired by her courage and dedication, began to explore their own hidden talents. Some took up painting, others started small gardening projects or pursued crafts they had once neglected. The senior nun's example had shown them that it was possible to balance personal passion with communal life. Her quiet determination had created an environment of encouragement, understanding, and appreciation for individual gifts within the convent. Word of her performance spread gradually beyond the convent walls. Locals who had attended the event shared their experiences with friends and family, praising the beauty and emotional depth of her music. Soon, invitations began to arrive for small gatherings in the community, where she could play the piano and inspire others with her talent. While she accepted these opportunities cautiously, she understood that her music had the power to uplift, heal, and bring joy to people who needed it. The senior nun's life became a delicate balance between her responsibilities at the convent and the growing interest in her music. She managed to maintain her routines while preparing for public performances, always ensuring that her duties and spiritual practices remained her priority. Each day, she continued to practice diligently, perfecting her technique, exploring new pieces, and composing her own melodies. The piano had become not just an instrument but a vital part of her identity, a way to communicate her innermost feelings to the world. Her performances became more confident and expressive. Each note was imbued with the lessons she had learned through her life: patience, perseverance, humility, and the importance of following one's heart. She discovered that her music could evoke emotions in others that words alone could never express. Tears, smiles, quiet contemplation, and moments of awe were common responses from those who listened. She realized that the act of sharing her music was as meaningful as the music itself, creating connections and leaving lasting impressions. Through these experiences, the senior nun also began to mentor younger members of the convent. She encouraged them to pursue their passions, teaching them that patience, dedication, and creativity were essential in any endeavor. Her guidance was gentle but firm, emphasizing the importance of nurturing personal gifts while respecting communal responsibilities. Many of the sisters found inspiration in her story, feeling empowered to explore their own talents and discover the joy that comes from expressing oneself fully. The senior nun also took the time to reflect on her journey. She thought about the early days when she had been blocked from playing in the main hall, the quiet moments of practice in hidden corners, and the small triumphs that had carried her forward. Each obstacle had taught her something valuable. Each challenge had strengthened her resolve. She realized that her perseverance had not only allowed her to share her music, but had also enriched her own life, deepening her understanding of herself and her purpose. Her story became an inspiration not only within the convent but also in the wider community. People admired her dedication, the grace with which she overcame obstacles, and the courage it took to step forward and share her gift. She received letters and messages from individuals who had been moved by her music, thanking her for the comfort, joy, and inspiration it had provided. Though she remained humble, these acknowledgments affirmed that her efforts had made a real difference in the lives of others. The senior nun's influence extended beyond music. Her journey exemplified the power of perseverance and the importance of staying true to oneself. She demonstrated that age, rules, or limitations should never prevent someone from pursuing their passion. Her life became a testament to the idea that dedication, patience, and love for one's craft could overcome obstacles and touch the lives of many. In the convent, her presence continued to be a source of warmth and guidance. Sisters often sought her advice not just on music but on life, seeking her insight into balancing responsibilities, finding joy in daily routines, and pursuing personal growth. The senior nun shared her wisdom with kindness and humility, always emphasizing that fulfillment came from dedication, patience, and the courage to follow one's heart. She also found a deeper spiritual connection through her music. Playing the piano became a form of meditation, a way to reflect on her life, her faith, and her purpose. Each note she played was a prayer, each melody a reflection of gratitude, love, and hope. The act of sharing her music allowed her to connect not only with the people around her, but also with something greater than herself, a sense of harmony and peace that transcended words. Her legacy within the convent grew quietly but steadily. She had shown that personal passion and communal life could coexist harmoniously, that dedication and patience could yield extraordinary results, and that sharing one's gifts could have a lasting impact. Her story inspired others to pursue their own dreams, to face obstacles with courage, and to find fulfillment in the process of creating and sharing. Over time, the senior nun continued to perform, mentor, and compose, always remaining humble and focused on the joy of music. She understood that her gift was not about recognition or fame, but about touching hearts and inspiring others. Her music became a symbol of hope, resilience, and the beauty of following one's passion despite challenges. As the years went on, the senior nun reflected on her journey with gratitude. She had faced obstacles, doubts, and limitations, yet she had persevered, nurtured her talent, and shared it with the world. Her music had brought comfort, joy, and inspiration to many, leaving a lasting legacy that would continue to influence future generations. She felt a deep sense of satisfaction, knowing that her dedication and love for the piano had created something meaningful, something that would endure long after her playing days were over. In the quiet moments of the convent, when she sat at the piano and played for herself or for those willing to listen, she felt a profound connection to her past, her present, and the future she had helped shape. Each melody carried the story of her life, the lessons she had learned, and the hope she wished to impart to others. Her music was a bridge between hearts, a reminder that passion, perseverance, and courage could create beauty that transcended time, age, and circumstance. The senior nun's journey came to embody the essence of inspiration. She had turned her love for music into a force that touched countless lives, proving that even in the face of challenges, one could achieve fulfillment and make a difference. Her story would be remembered not only for the music she played but for the courage, dedication, and humility that defined her life. In every note she played, she left a piece of her heart, a testament to the enduring power of following one's dreams and sharing one's gifts with the world. Through all of this, she remained grounded, humble, and focused on the joy that music brought her and those around her. She continued to explore, create, and inspire, leaving a legacy that would be cherished by the convent, the community, and all who had the privilege of experiencing her music. The senior nun had not only played the piano but had composed a life filled with purpose, passion, and inspiration, proving that true fulfillment comes from dedication, love, and the courage to share one's gifts with the world.